Okay, so we are on our fourth PC Open discussion for 2024, and we are continuing as discussed in the last meeting about what's new in Business Central 2024 Release Wave 1. So, as we have been delaying this topic for a while, which is multiple extensions in the same app, let's spend a we'll spend a good amount of time into it to understand what it is, and if there are questions, I'll be happy to answer them if I can. So let's get into that to begin with. So for that, I'll take you to the history of the whole AL language, how it started and how it kind of impacted how things happen in SQL. So pre-BC 23, so from Business Central 24, oh sorry, Business Central 14 to Business Central 22, if there is a core extension, you can consider it as base Microsoft extension. And there are two pertinent extension or ISVs that you have who are modifying a table in the core extension. Then in SQL, what used to happen is there will be your core table with the core table ID, app ID, and then each extension, table extension, will get a separate table in SQL. Do you guys know this? Is there a confusion on this part? Or that was clear? So when you extend, let's say, customer table, and another ISV extends a customer table and adds a field into it by using table extensions, what used to happen till BC 22 is there will be two separate tables created with the table name customer, and the only thing that will be different is the GUID that gets attached to that. And that GUID will come from the GUID of these extensions. Now, from a front-end perspective, Microsoft will do the join and will show you all the part of the customer table. It's customer table that we are talking about. And you will, while doing your code, you will not even notice it. In Business Central 23, Microsoft made a slight change into this, and that change having the same scenario, a core table, let's say from base extension, and that table is being extended by two extension. The result of that was just two tables in SQL. The main table, which is coming from the core, and then there is an additional table called dollar extension. And all the fields coming from this extension app and this extension app are all clubbed into one single extension table or companion table. With this, the benefit was that there Microsoft had to do one join and your performance was increased because it made sense. Till now, am I clear? Is there a confusion? Do I need to show it? Maybe opening my server if needed.
So like in this extension table, sir, it will store the GUID also, means the
So
two separate apps if extending.
yeah, so that's kind of interesting how Microsoft figured that out. What they did is instead of GUID on the table, they kind of moved the GUID to the fields. So now
Okay.
this companion table will have field from both the extension in this case, but the fields will have the GUID, not the table. So let me open it here. Let me open one demo environment that I have. So this is BC 14, and this is same till BC 22. So you can see BC 14 or BC 19 if needed. Even in the standard Microsoft, there are some table which have extensions. Hopefully customer have one. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure item have one. But let's have a look. Okay, no, I don't see one for customer, but let's search for item. And that's the reason why Microsoft always suggested and discouraged doing anything directly from SQL. So because this is changing, and I'm pretty much optimistic that it'll again change in the future. But okay, here is an example. Now this is the table which is coming from the base app, which have all table field related to the item. Okay, all these fields. And then till BC22, every extension that you create on item table will create a new table in SQL, which will contain the primary key of the main table and then the additional field that you are creating. It can be one field, 10 field, whatever you are creating. If you have two extension, you'll see two new tables. If you have five extension, then you'll see five new tables other than the Microsoft extension. Is that clear here? Hopefully it is. So let's see what changed here on 23. So in 23, what Microsoft said that, okay, even if you have five extension to my table, to an existing table, what we'll do instead of having the GUID on the table itself, we'll create a generic companion table and we'll append the word $ext, which is extension into it. Now, all the fields, if you have five extension, will be placed in this single table. But while doing that, they added the GUID of the extension into the field. If you look at it, this GUID moved from the table name to the field name. So far, so good. Any questions?
Okay.
Okay. Now, what happened now is because it's the era where Microsoft understand that the base app is one of the biggest app in your environment, and they are trying to make logical extensions out of the base app. So now what they are saying that even if in your extension, and now forget about the core extension and sub extension, let's say it's your own extension, an extension that you're building where you created a table. In that scenario, you now can create an extension object in the same extension. And I'll show it to you if it is confusing. What I'll do while I'm doing the build process of this, that I'll merge all these fields into one single table. And we'll talk about the reasoning behind it, why Microsoft is doing it. But the idea here is that even if you create uh, table and table extensions together in the same app, which was not possible till BC23. So till BC23, if you create a table in your extension, you'll not be able to create a table extension on it, right? Um, I don't want to confuse you, but
Yeah,
that's why I did,
yes, it's correct.
right? You can't do
Yeah,
that. But now with BC24, they started doing this. And now surely it's a little bit confusing why Microsoft will kind of introduce this. And I'm looking for an extension because I might have an example somewhere to explain this. Let me see if I can. 23. Okay, not this one. Mhm. I don't have, I guess. Okay, so now let's talk about why now and why this is needed. So as Microsoft understand at this moment, as we are talking about it, that our base extension is a pretty big extension and it is the only extension that takes a lot of time. What they are allowing you to do is something like this. I found an example. Nice. Okay. So here, if you look at it, I have a table extension to the customer table. And I also have another extension to the customer table, which if you think about it, it was not possible prior to this version, BC24. So if you try out on BC23 as I'm trying, you'll see this error that it cannot be declared because another extension object is already there for the customer table. Correct? Now, what I'll
yeah,
do is I'll just change this to my BC24 environment if it is ready, and we'll see what happens when we try to connect it to BC24. So I'll change this and let me delete these files. Okay. Now this is important for anyone, and I'm pretty sure that partners should start doing it now going forward. If they have a big PTE that they have created for a customer, because eventually, as your extension grows in size, it takes time to kind of maintain it. It takes time to install it or upgrade it based on whatever you are doing. It surely depends on the size of the extension. So even when you download Symbol, you will notice that the base app is the last app that gets downloaded because it's still the biggest app in the Microsoft app suite that's available. So as the base app will get downloaded, we'll see what happens to all these compilation errors that we are seeing here, that I'm trying to extend a table which with two extensions into it. So it seems symbols are downloaded. Let's quickly reload this and see what happens. Okay, here we are. Just trying to check what I'm trying to do, and it still gives an error because my application still points to runtime 12.0, and this property defines what version of PC you're using. As I change the runtime, you will notice that all the errors that I was seeing here are gone. Okay, so now you can have two extensions to the same base Microsoft or your table, and even the table and table extension together in the same extension. And this is not just for the tables. This is applicable to all the objects which can be extended, like pages, permission sets, enums, enum extensions, and things. But now let's talk about why it was needed. So if you haven't noticed yet, and I guess we did talk about it briefly in one of the past session, that there's a new app now, which is called Foundation, which is part of the core app. And right now, at this moment or in this version, it only consider have features around number series. So Microsoft took kind of number series from the base app and moved it to the Foundation app. But let's get into it to understand how it was done. Because as of today, we cannot just delete a table from the base app and move it to a separate app. So when you try to extract the code of Foundation, and you can do it by downloading the product DVD of BC24. I'll just open this in code. Okay, and let's try to see what Microsoft is doing here. There are two things. I'll skip one, even if you see it right now. Let's ignore it for a moment and we'll come to that in a while. Okay, but let's see. This is a table, simple table, number series table. Somehow, let's assume Microsoft moved it to this environment and we'll understand how this happened, how this table came into the Foundation app from the base app. But then go into the legacy folder and you'll notice that there is a number series obsolete table extension. So, or object. So let me just keep this on so that we can see it. And this is the other table. Now, if you notice, this is an extension to the number series, which is the table in the same extension, right? The idea here is what Microsoft is doing by making this enable is trying to refactor without making a destructive change. So what they have done, anything that they are going to be removed in future from the number series table, they created a table extension for it separately in the same app. So this is also part of the same app, and they'll be able to delete this when needed going forward based on the timeline of it. So this seems to be marked as obsolete in, let's see, 18. So in the upcoming version, all these fields from number series will be deleted because they were marked obsolete going forward. And the number series table is part of the same app. So with this feature baked in Business Central, you can now start working on your refactoring without actually doing refactoring. So, and there are some other pieces which, when we'll talk about them, will make complete sense. So right now, let's say you have a table, and every app which is available on app source, if they want to delete a field, they can't delete today. So what they do, they mark it obsolete. And if you have worked on app for app source, as you kind of enhance the functionality of app, you sometime will delete certain things which are not needed, which you cannot. So what you do, you just keep them as marked as obsolete. And if you initially, when you were building that app, you thought, okay, I'll bake everything, the functionality that I want to provide in one single app. But now it's time to redesign it and say, okay, this app became pretty big. Let's split it into three different apps. Now, as soon as you say, I'll split it into three different apps, means you will be moving objects between different apps, which as of today is impossible for two reasons. One, you can't make a destructive change. Second, there is not a concept of moving data between app one and app two until unless you write a custom code for that. So those are the two major problems. Now, the one problem is being solved by this feature where you say, okay, out of the 100 fields that are available in this table, I think 5 of them will make a good place into a separate app. So what I'll do is I'll create a table extension for it, which I'll move later into a separate extension. That part one. The part two, which is around moving the data with that extension movement or table movements between extension, what they did, and I guess that brings us to our second point, which is, let me go back into it, which is the new obsolete state. So there are two new obsolete state that you would have noticed in these tables when we are looking into it. The number series table has a new property called moved from. Now this property tells the system from where this table is copied from, more or less. This is the GUID of the base Microsoft app. So it's telling to the compiler that this table is coming from the base app and is moved to the foundation app. With this, Microsoft is eliminating the need of writing the upgrade or copy data from one extension to other extension by just using the moved from. There is a companion to it, which is move to. So when you look at the base app and look for the number series table, there will be a property tagged as move to, which will list down the extension GUID of the foundation app. Now, during the upgrade that happens, the way compiler treats these properties is will move the data from A app to B app based on these properties. The limitation right now is that these two properties that are available, the move to and move from, are not available for custom extensions that you're building. It's still only available for Microsoft, but it, as per their launch video, they will make it available for other partners and developers to use it in future. David, you have a question. Is there a list somewhere that clarifies which version of BC introduced which changes to the extension tables? Um, David, not exactly. So the first change that came was on BC 23, and then it came in 24. Those are the only two major milestones right now from an extension object perspective. Okay, so now the third piece of the equation, that as of today, you can't delete a field into an app. You can only make a field obsolete to be deleted in future. Now, interestingly, when you open the base app, and this is what I was thinking for a very long time, and then after watching one of the video, not this year, maybe last year, I kind of knew that this is how they are going to do it. But when you go into the base app, we all know that there was a table called product group code, our favorite table for storing product group. This table was marked obsolete in NAV 2016. in the NAV era or somewhere around that time. But this table still exists in the latest version of Business Center. As in, you cannot use it. We cannot use it as a developer. We can't design against it. But if you look at it, this was removed way earlier, even before BC was launched. When you look at the whole base app, on not just the base app, other apps also, you'll notice that there are so many obsolete tables or obsolete fields which are available in the system as of today. And what happens with this, it surely is not a cleaner code. It, I, I think it might impact performance based on how many tables you have from a backend perspective, from a SQL perspective. So what Microsoft have decided that is starting next release, which is BC 25, every 5 years, there will be a jump version. Now, it sounds a new word, but let's understand what a jump version is. Now, people who have done upgrades, when you come from a very old version, let's say 3.7, and you want to go to BC SaaS, there were some jump versions which were called upgrade steps. So like if you are upgrading from 3.7, want to go to BC SaaS, you will have to come from 3.7 to 2009. From 2009, you can max go to 2015. From 2015, you'll have to go to BC 14. And then based on different parameter, either you replicate from BC 14 to SaaS, or you go from BC 14 to BC 24 and then replicate to SaaS. All these versions that are listed in the middle were technically called as jump versions, which means you'll have to stop at these points. You can't just directly go from X version to the latest version. This was not a concept in Business Central till now, because anything which was deleted by Microsoft was kept as obsolete. And I'm pretty sure that there might be some other reason, which I don't know. But Business Central 25 will become the first jump version of Business Central. What that means is anybody after BC 25 or 26 is launched, after BC 26 is launched, which is April next year, will have to come to BC 25 if they want to go to the future. If they want to go to SaaS, if they want to go to BC 26, 27, they'll have to make a halt at BC 25. You can't move ahead without going to BC 25. Now, why there is a jump version? The plan seems that in these jump versions, Microsoft will give an opportunity to clean up anything that you have marked as obsolete. So for all these years in Business Central, whatever was marked obsolete by Microsoft for sure will get actually removed in BC 25. And I don't know this, but I'm optimistic that that option will also be available with the partners who have built PDEs and also app source apps. So your next version, which is BC 25, is the version where you can do a little bit of cleanup on your extensions. Now let's go back and put this all into one story. Okay. At this point on BC 24, you can create table and table extension together. Okay, so anything that is marked as obsolete in your app source app, maybe put them into a separate table extension. Similar for page extensions and other objects that you have. And I'm specifically talking about app source apps because on PDs you can do things. It's possible. Then if you have to refactor and move some of the objects from one extension to that extension, then it's time to kind of wait for Microsoft to open these two properties, which is yet not opened for partners. So if you create a table, you can't specify the move from property or move to property at this moment. And the third is the BC 25 coming up version, which will give you an opportunity to delete these obsolete mark fields and tables or other objects that you have done for all these years. So now does that all make sense? Why this is happening, what's coming, or are there any questions that I can try to answer?
Yeah, it make more sense. So one problem I think is like if we could create multiple table extension or page extension, uh, currently, like if I'm trying to create multiple extension for customer, it will like
Mhm.
suggest me, okay, you already have the customer extension, but you know, if when multiple people are developing and multiple people could create like multiple extension, what would be the impact, or there will be like any stopping point, how they will going to handle it?
So as per Microsoft, there will not be an impact even if you have 5 extensions to the same object. And when I'm saying object, it's not just for the table, for pages also, or any other object that can be extended. Because when you are publishing it, Microsoft is making that as one single object. They are not making it as 3 different objects because you have 3 extensions. So when you publish your app, Microsoft will understand that there is a main table and then there are 2 companion table in the same extension. So if all 3 of them are part of same extension, then you will end up with one table in SQL. In your scenario, if you are trying to extend the customer table and your colleague is also trying to create an extension to the customer table, both of the extension object in the same app will create a new companion table, but just one companion table, because you are trying to modify an object which is not part of your app. Okay, so if this is coming from the base app and these 2 extension are part of your extension, then they will also create one companion table, but not two, because this was achieved in the previous version, BC23. So in SQL, in case of customer table, you will have 2 tables, the customer actual table, and then all your table extension combined into this table.
Okay. Yeah, and if some other partner have also that customer table modified, I think it would be like the
Yeah, it'll
one
just get
table.
the fields will get added into this, because now the GUID is attached to the fields, not to the table, like this. So if there is a other field from other partner, there will be a new field with a different GUID.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Okay. So the other, a little bit logical seems, but Microsoft have stopped supporting debugging for pre-BC20 uh, environments. So when you are on VS Code and you're trying to debug an environment which is BC19 or prior, the debugger will not work. And I don't exactly remember the reason, but there was some reason why they are not supporting it. Now that causes a problem for sure, because we surely have customers who are on prior version, and this cannot be just the reason why they should be upgrading to the latest version. They should, but how you solve that is, if you see this on a prior environment, which is BC14 to BC19, go to your extension management. Make sure for that customer you choose install other version. Way one. This is way one. You will see all the versions that has been released, and you can install the supported version, which will allow you to debug the prior versions of Business Central. There is another way also, which I like. So what happens is when Business Central get installed in your environment, and let's have a look. Okay, I cannot type it. Let me try again. Let me try to go there. So let's say this is Business Central 14 and my customer is on Business Central 14 and doing AL development. Earlier, there was to be a RTC client, but even if you go to the latest installation, you will find this folder called AL development environment. What it contains is surely these 2 apps, which may not be part of this folder, but this file will be part of it, which is the AL language VSIX. And let's quickly check it on the latest versions that we have. So, okay, let's go in there. Program files 86, Business Central. So let's check at 190. So you'll see that there is an AL language file. And same for every version, BC24, get into it, AL language. The idea of this AL language is to get the exact AL language extension for the version that you are in. So if my customer is on BC14 and I would like to debug their environment, which is not possible with the latest update of AL language extension, what I need to do is I need to uninstall this, which will kind of uninstall it pretty quickly. And then here is an option in this 3 dots to install from a VSIX file. So based on the version that your customer is in, if they are on pre-BC20 version, then you can always come here on install from VSIX file and then pick that file that I was showing you. So let's go in here, program files 86, Business Central, 140, ALDev, and AL language VSIX. What will happen? AL language extension will get installed of the exact version that is needed for your customer. And whatever the debugger capabilities which were available in that particular version, your customer will be able to, or you will be able to use those capabilities in Business Central. So if you look at it, this was the logo in the BC14 for AL language. And this is available right now in my environment. From where it came? It came from that VSIX file that is available in that associated version. So if you get into a situation where you have to debug a prior version, then BC20, then make sure either to do this, what I told you, or as if you know the version, which is a little bit, I don't know how you get to the exact version of the VSIX package, but there is an option available where legacy extensions of AL language are available to be used. So tomorrow, if you are debugging a customer and you are not able to debug, don't waste your time. Nothing has changed on the settings. Microsoft has just stopped supporting debugger of prior version than BC20. Any questions on that? Nothing? Okay, so let's see. So I haven't used this, but I was reading about it that Microsoft have released another package, more or less, called AL Tools, and that should be available somewhere here, not in this, or maybe in the program files, which allows you to do certain things. That's what I was reading, but let me see where this is. No, it's not here. Should be somewhere. Let's see in the product DVD, because I'm pretty sure it's in the product DVD. I don't know why it didn't become part of it's called AL tool. Okay, that's a little bit off. Okay, maybe it's not part of the CU0, but okay, so maybe we'll talk about it in the next meeting. I'll have to see where they place it and what it can do. Okay, so let's talk about some functionality changes. I was testing this out. I failed, and I thought, why not we talk about it here? Maybe that'll make sense. So in Business Central, we have these work descriptions available, which behind the scene is a text field, or sorry, a blob field, which is then storing the data, right? So user sees it as a free text field where they can put this is a demo text, and this is line 2 of demo text, or line 3, whatever. And then based on the code that's written behind the scene, as soon as you come out of this field, it kind of system takes this data, stores it into a blob, and whenever you open the page, it kind of brings it back. Now, there is a slight enhancement into this area where now when you are into your configuration packages or rapid start, whatever you want to call it, you can now will be able to choose these blob type of field to export data. All right. So I can just directly come here, pick up my table number. Then from here, I should be able to choose the fields. If you go prior BC latest version, you'll not be able to do this. So I have the document type, document number, and then I'll look for work description if I can find it. Okay, where is it? Let me search here. Filter, work. Let's see, okay, work description. So I can include that field, and let's remove this filter. Okay, so I have work description selected, and I have the type and number selected. Once I've done that, I can now come in and do a Excel, which is export to Excel. So as soon as I do that export to Excel, this surely downloads a file, and I will be able to, let me bring it in this screen. Yes, we'll be able to see that the description that I have stored in this. Okay. Now, this is also multi-line, as I have kind of stored in there. And you can also import that data back into the system if needed. Now think it from the perspective of any blob field that have caused problems to be kind of downloaded or exported or imported into the system. Is there a scenario that you can think of where this was a problem with the blob field that I cannot export it out or import it out? Okay, let me give you an example of where it kind of makes sense. So when you upgrade from Business Central on-prem to SaaS, there are certain tables that does not get replicated to SaaS, that does not get copied to SaaS, and that all happens based on a table property which is defined in the table when you create that, and that table property is called replicate data. So let me see if I can find one of those. Maybe it's here. Let's see. No, not this one. Okay. So as you can see here, there is a property called replicate data false. And this is not the only table where replicate data is false. Okay. I can show you examples in the base app also, which is change log entries. So all these type of table will replicate data is false. When you upgrade from Business Central on-prem to SaaS, any table which have this property set does not get replicated to SaaS. Okay. So if you don't know about it and you are doing an upgrade to BC SaaS, and if you don't see data into these kind of tables, make sure to go back and check, was that table is the part of replicate data true or not. And this property is available from BC 14. So even if you are replicating from BC 14, there are certain tables which will not get replicated because of this property. Now what happens is there are two parts that I was talking about. The first table, which is the recording that gets stored into it. The part one is it stored all the links that are attached to a record. So let's say you attach a URL to a customer number 1000, 10,000. That record gets stored into a record link with the pointer pointing to the record using the record ID field. and then the URL stores the URL that is embedded with that link. And this is how your fact box work of the links in different pages, because all that data gets stored into this table. The other interesting thing that stores is the note. So there is a field here called type. One is of type link, which gets added when you add a URL into a record. And the other is note. So if you have worked in the RTC versions of Business Central, there was this note thing where you can notify someone when you are adding a note to a record. Those notes were stored as blobs. Now, when you are upgrading from on-prem to SaaS, for sure, your record link is not going to replicate because the replicate data is false. As far as URLs are considered, these are text fields, so you can export it out and then import it into Business Central via custom code and all that, all possible, or XML port. When it comes to this of type note, that becomes a trickier situation. Because there are customers who still have a lot of info in notes. And to upgrade that data from on-prem to SaaS was a nightmare. And I'm only speaking from an upgrade perspective, but I'm pretty sure there will be other use cases of this functionality where you can now are able to export or import a blob type field from Business Central or to Business Central. Any questions, thoughts? Okay.
Yeah, no,
If
no question.
okay, so just remember this: if you get stuck in a situation, there is a way now that you can export and import it out. Now, the other thing is about this, the Microsoft App Source app. I don't know we talked about this or not, and maybe we did. So let me know if I did. So when you are on Business Central SaaS and you want to install an app which is available in the app source, this is our go-to page, which is called Extension Marketplace. Here, it just kind of mimics the web page which is available on Microsoft website. You can choose and install the apps from here. But this page is going away. This is marked for removal. So this is going to be eliminated. And I guess we talked about it. Microsoft have redesigned this page using the API framework. And now there is, I guess, app source apps or something. Got it. Yeah, Microsoft App Source app. So now there is this new page which works on API, and it always will try to fetch the information from the app source and will show you in this list form. Now this information gets updated whenever you try to open this page. It just refreshes the list, or you can also refresh it from the app source here. Here, not just the name and the publisher name, you'll also be able to see which of these are installed on your environment, what is the popularity of it in the app source, how people are rating it, number of ratings and things like that. And because now it's part of a list page, you can surely utilize the power of the analysis mode into it, and then group this data based on different parameters that you have, maybe based on the partners or the publisher names. So it gives you a new view. But if you can't see the extension marketplace, this is your go-to page going forward, which is Microsoft App Source app. So if a customer says, oh, I was able to install these apps till yesterday, now I cannot, tell them there has been a slight change and this is that small change. Make sense?
Yeah, it is good place.
Okay, so I was trying something before this meeting and I was unable to try it out. So let's quickly have a look on that. This is an enhancement which I think it was a good enhancement from the perspective of APIs calls and OData calls that you make. So Microsoft said that they are releasing the in operator in web services queries, which is specifically OData and API queries. Now, what happens with the in? People who have worked in the programming, which is every one of us, most of us, you can now will be able to use the in operator where writing a complex statement like this to filter out certain records. You can just do a filter of that field and then you can pass multiple values with it. Now, just before this meeting, I was trying this out and I was failing. So let's give it a try. And maybe I'm doing something wrong, which happens quite often. So let me open Postman and see what I was doing wrong. Okay, here I am on my Postman. Okay, so this is my old query, which is pointing to my BC23 environment. And I'm trying to filter the number in my customer endpoint with equals to 10,000 or equals to 20,000. I do send this and I get unauthorized, which makes sense because my symbol surely have gone or my token has expired. Okay, so let me refresh that token and let's try it again. Okay. So as I'm trying this out, I should be getting two customer records, one for customer number 10,000 and the other is for customer number 20,000, and that's okay. When I try to do this with the new method that Microsoft have mentioned, and let me try to open that page and then help me where I'm doing something wrong for sure. Okay. So here it says utilize, and let's look into this together. Filter, and my field is number. As we saw here, it's not customer number. The field is number. I'm just saying where number, or let's see here, dollar filter number in 10,000, comma 20,000. I was expecting to get a reply, but when I run this, and it is pointing to my BC24 environment, it says that there is an OR operator expected. And I tried with this. I thought maybe I'm doing something wrong, or maybe the data is not available. So when I try this, when I send this, it does work as it is in BC24. But for some reason, because I was reading the release date, it was supposed to be on April, so it should be out. This was part of the launch video. So I was like, okay, let me give it a try. But for certain reasons, it seems it does not understand at this moment the whole in operator concept. It seems to me, or if you see something that I'm doing wrong,
Yeah,
let me know.
can you use, instead of like single inverted comma, could you use double inverted comma?
Okay, let's give it a try. That there's no harm. Okay. Yep. It says illegal or character. This is not valid at line number 11 or position 11, which is this character. So surely it's not double quotes. Anyone else
Yeah.
have a wild guess with the in apparatus? Nope. So either it is not yet baked in. I'll wait. I'll keep testing this till the point it kind of becomes available. Maybe CE1 brings us in. But remember that this is coming in, and if you had complex endpoints created to kind of fetch where you're filtering records, going forward in future, you'll be able to utilize the in operator that's available. Okay, and then I think there is a slight change in, or not a change, there's a new API sets that are available. So maybe let me see if I can just quickly scan that and show it to you. Okay, this is just showing me companies. I don't want to see the companies. Okay. Okay. So I'll have to kind of copy this. Let me see if I can. I'd like to see it. Okay. The other thing with respect to web services and API, if you're working into it, the version 1.0 in future, it's not as of today, but in future, it's going to be obsolete. So if you have endpoints from external services which are pointing to version 1.0 of API, I think it's time to start moving them to v2.0. The end date is not announced, but in one of the videos which I was showing from which I was seeing from Microsoft, I heard this that there is a future deprecation that's coming up with those endpoints. So if you have any custom integrations built on based on version 1.1 of APIs, which is technically NAV 2018 APIs, then it's time to kind of rethink about them and upgrade them to v2.0. Okay. So let's see what's changed, or is it still same? No, there seems to be some changes in the middle somewhere. So let's see what are the new endpoints that are available. While I'm doing this, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer those as we're talking about things. Okay. So there seems to be, okay, here somewhere. There is a dispute status API endpoint, which is new. That's being added. And then let me copy all this and move it a little bit. And only one? Oh, that's pretty less. I thought there will be more. Okay. Let's just compare it. Yeah. The only thing that's being added, it seems, is a new endpoint called dispute status. That's being added. Now, what is dispute status? I haven't seen it. Anybody want to take a kind of a guess on it, what this will be? While I'm going into the product DVD and looking at it. Okay, nobody's interested. Let's go into the app or the DVD. Go into application, look for v2. Let's get into the source. Exclude, extract all. Okay, let's do an extract. It's extracting. So the dispute one. And maybe there are some endpoints added into the other areas of the API extensions, but we'll have a look at this one. This contains majority of the endpoints that we know. But I think I heard somewhere that there are more endpoints, not just one, that's being added. So I'll not be surprised if in C1 we see another another new API endpoints. Okay, so this is coming from a table called dispute status. Oh, there's a completely new table. Anybody knows about this table? Because I'm hearing this name for the first time. The dispute table. Okay. Now where does dispute status come into the picture? It says area customer. Okay. I might have to go a little bit deep into it to understand from where the deep dispute status came into the picture. But that seems pretty interesting what this brings into it and why there is an endpoint to a new entity that's being added. Because it's a completely new entity. And if that has been added for certain reasons, we should kind of get into it to understand what's happening with this particular entity. Okay, while the system is searching for it, any thoughts, any questions? Because we are nearly at the end of our meeting. Okay, I see. I'm still looking for the table so that I can try doing a where use if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. It'll take some time because I haven't compiled this app yet, the base app. Otherwise, this would have been simple to do a where use. I doubt right now the where use will work. Come on, wait. Okay, find all references. Let's see what happens, but it'll take some time. It's not going to happen exactly right now. Okay, so any questions before I let you guys go? And enjoy your weekend.
Saurabh, I don't have any topic related to what you presented, but I have a question. I'm facing an issue. I'm not able to open the database logs page in our live environment while I'm having the super access. Is there any setting or any permission at the SQL level? And
Which
secondly,
version it is?
I need to check it BC 18. I if I'm not wrong, 20 BC 20.
Okay, database logs.
Database logs and this table I can see from the help section the table name is database logs but it is not available at SQL end.
Yes, so there are certain virtual tables that you cannot find in SQL. Okay, so and this is nothing new. This has been into the product for all these years. That so like when you see most of the tables, not most, but there was certain hidden tables that were even available in NAV, which were never available in the SQL server.
Right,
like
virtual.
the
Yeah.
like the whole field table, which store all
It
the
is.
fields, is not a table in SQL, right? It's
Yes,
just
yes.
in BC or NAV. So why you cannot see in SQL? That would be the reason that you cannot see it in the SQL. But you can't run that page, and you can't even run it from the table information page.
No, I cannot. It is showing it contains some system table data, so it cannot be displayed. For the same version, I can open it in the test environment with the same permission. But in the live with same permission, it is throwing this error.
Oh, what is the license on the test? Is it the same license on the prod, or
Yes,
are
same
you
license,
using
same
different
license.
license?
Yes, I
What is
cannot
that page you
exactly
said?
database logs.
Database logs. Logs. Okay.
Yeah,
So when you try to open this, this fails.
yeah, it is showing it contains some system data, so it cannot be displayed. It cannot be opened. And the table ID is in the range of 2 crores where access control and the users. So I was
Yeah, yeah,
thinking
right.
if those details can be found from SQL, why this table cannot be found? So I was
Oh,
worried.
so because this does not store the data. So whenever a lock happens,
Mm.
it temporarily stores the data into this particular table,
Yes.
and then it gets eliminated as soon as the lock is removed or
Logs.
you close this page out.
Yes. 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 But at least we can find the schema of this table at the SQL name. But as you said, it might be a virtual table like field table, so we cannot say it.
Yeah, but I remember that not in BC for sure, but in NAV there was an event available. I guess I've done some way to kind of export it out or to save it into an actual table, something like that. Because it's a table available for you to code, right? Because you can take reference to it, you can use it in your code. So I right now don't remember what I did, but like you cannot write to it. That's how it is being done. But because it's a table, whenever something getting inserted into it, and I'm just making assumptions right now because I don't remember what I exactly did. You should be able to subscribe to the insert event of this if the record is getting inserted into it. and then maybe just copy all the data into a separate 50,000 table.
Yeah.
Right? I don't exactly remember what I did, but something like this was happening to me in BC14, where I somehow was not able to see this.
Okay.
If you can just send me that text message maybe later
Sure,
in
sure.
this chat will be open.
Sure.
I'll check for it and see.
Sure, sure. I will share. What I heard from a vendor that there is some kind of SQL permission, SQL label permission that we need to have in order to see that page. I'm
So
not
to configure this, yes, there are SQL level permission to configure the database log feature in on-prem. I can check and let you know, because I know that there was some permissions, and those permission hopefully are same as they were in NAV, because in NAV I'm pretty sure I wrote a blog about it. I'll have to see where it is, but I can find it for you and send it to you. If the permissions are same, great. If they are not same, then let me know. We can surely figure that out. That's not a problem.
sure, sure. I will. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I guess this was set up SQL database log, and I might be completely wrong. I'll have to check and then use it. Modeling C database in NAV 2017. No, this is not that blog, but I'll have to check and find it, because this was released somewhere in the later versions of BC14 or BC13, and I'm very sure that I have a blog about it. So I'll just have to check and let you know.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, Chandan, I'll make a note of it, and as soon as I find it out, I might send you an email about it. Okay, any other questions, anyone? If not, then
Okay.
go ahead,
Thank
Avinash.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And then just FYI, anybody is going to Directions Asia from this group? No? Okay, I'll be there. So if your colleagues are going, let me know. We should say hi. We should have a chit chat if any one of your colleagues are coming. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for your time. Well, taking some time on Friday is hard, I guess. So we'll meet next week. I'm researching on one of the topics which is on BC24. It's a pretty interesting topic. The research is not yet complete, but I'm pretty sure if you have worked for NAV for quite a while, you will understand what is the problem statement, how Microsoft is trying to solve it. So hopefully by next Friday, I'll be able to kind of complete whatever I'm trying to find out on that feature, and we'll surely talk about it. So till then, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you. Oh, so David, you'll be there in Thailand? Yeah, I'll be there. So I'll see you there. Okay, 50%. Okay, mine is 100%. I just booked my flight, so I'm for sure going. But okay, if you're there, yeah, we meet. Okay, thank you all. Enjoy your weekend, and
Thank
then
you.
I'll see you next week. Bye.
Mm.
Okay, so if you're still here, let me know. Did I said something wrong somewhere? If I did, sorry for that, and let me know into the comment section if you have still some questions. I know it was a little bit confusing on the first topic, but I should be coming with the better examples, I guess. I'll make sure I'll do that going forward. But do let me know your views into the comments. If you know the drill. If you think this was useful, go ahead and share it. If you would like to join these meetings on Fridays, I know it's a little bit hard. Then this is the link where you can kind of register for the upcoming meeting, which happens on Friday right now, India time 9 to 10 p.m. And if you can't make it and you have a question, you know the space. Add it into the comments of this video, and I'll make sure that we talk about it as a group about your problem. So I'll see you next week on this series, maybe the 5th edition of the season 4 of BC Open Discussion. And if you're coming to Directions Asia, let's meet, let's connect, let's talk about things. Till then, enjoy your weekend, keep sharing and keep learning. Thank you.